Hello and welcome to Hooray. Today we are going to learn the speaking component in the IELTS test. Let's look at part 3, which is the discussion questions. Let's take the basic overview and strategies and look at them in detail. Here's the description of the speaking test. The speaking test lasts between 11 and 14 minutes. It has 3 parts and every test is recorded. Part 1 consists of general or self-introduction, which takes 4 to 5 minutes. Part 2 is the cue card topic, where you have to prepare for 1 minute and speak for 2 minutes continuously. Part 3 is the discussion on the cue card topic, which goes for about 4 to 5 minutes. Here are the speaking criteria. 1. Fluency and coherence. 2. Lexical resource. 3. Grammatical range and accuracy. And 4. Pronunciation. Let's take a look at the description. Part 3 lasts for 4 to 5 minutes in the speaking part 3 round. This allows the examiner to ask you questions related to the part 2, which is the cue card topic. You need to answer around 3 to 4 questions in part 3. The examiner will explain but not rephrase the questions. Questions may be specific and opinion based. The suggestions are: answer in complete sentences, not one word. Don't just say yes or no. The conversation is more general and abstract. Give answers in greater depth. Say 2 to 4 sentences for each question. Focus on your language, not ideas or real opinions. Let's look at some of the tips for part 3. Follow a structure. 1 is B. Direct answers to the question should be given. E. Explain with reasons. The next E is to substantiate with examples. And C is to give a conclusion. Second point is there are many possible ways to answer each question. There is no unique or correct answer. Next tip is make an attempt to expand your answers as much as possible. Ensure you include relevant examples and details. Speak for as long as you can. The examiner will ask you the next question when he or she thinks it is appropriate. Now let's look at the problem areas. In this part, there are 2 main reasons why most IELTS test candidates lose points. 1 is they may say too much, that means they ramble. And the second problem could be that they say too little, where the answer is incomplete. Both of these problems are structure problems, not vocabulary problems, not grammar problems, but structure problems. Let's look at the types of questions that are asked in part 3. There are 7 types. 1. Viewpoint or opinion. 2. Assess. 3. Future reference. 4. Cause and effect. 5. Hypothetical situation. 6. Compare and contrast. And 7. Past. Let's look at each of these types in detail in the following slides. One is opinion questions. Show your language ability and get a higher score. Use vocabulary. In the opening phrases, you can say, personally, I'm convinced that, I'm certain that. Suppose the question is this: what are some of the ways people can help others in the community? You can give an answer like this. Personally speaking, I feel that people can start by donating towards different NGOs with small sums or whatever is convenient for them. For instance, I recently gave money to an old age home as I found it difficult to make time to go personally. But at least I know that it is being used for a good cause and can be used by them as they see fit. The second question type is assessment type questions. You could use vocabulary like this. Suppose you agree, you could use phrases like, I couldn't agree with you more. That's so true. That's for sure. Suppose you want to disagree, you could use phrases like this. I beg to differ. I'm afraid. I disagree. I'd say the exact opposite. Not necessarily. Let's take a look at a sample question with a sample answer. Some people say that people helped others more in the past than they do now. Do you agree or disagree? This person disagrees, so let's say how they speak. I beg to differ. My parents' generation is quite skeptical about helping other people in the community, but my generation is regularly doing things to remove this notion, and we are involving ourselves in activities such as volunteering to various environmental and charitable organizations. Unlike the past, younger people are proactive in community service. I don't think this happened in the past, so I'm afraid I'd disagree. Let's look at the third point. Future reference. Mention future hope and predictions. Let's look at the vocabulary. Use will plus verb because this refers to the future. You can also say plans to. It has been predicted that, or I intend to, or I foresee. It is likely that. It is probable that, or I envisage. Let's take a look at a sample question with an answer. What do you think the education system of your country will look like in 20 years? Within the next 20 years, I believe high school and university students in India will be able to choose from a wider variety of optional subjects. In addition, more practical training experience will be included in their curriculum to make sure they can sharpen their employability skills. Finally, technological applications such as software to monitor class attendance and track student progress will be deployed more widely on a national scale. Here's the fourth topic: cause and effect. What caused this and or what effect has it had? Vocabulary could be because, as a result, resulted in, as a consequence, due to, caused, or led to. Here's a question answer example. How does advertising influence what people choose to buy? I think advertising has a big influence on what people purchase and often leads them to always sticking with the same brand. For example, I always drink Coca-Cola, and I believe this is because I grew up watching all those advertisements on TV, and I instinctively buy it as a result. I mean, why would companies spend so much money on adverts unless it led to more sales? Therefore, I feel it has a big influence. fifth topic is hypothetical situation. We talk about imaginary scenarios. The vocabulary would be if plus the subject 1 plus a past participle, then the subject 2 plus would plus a verb. A question and answer example could go like this. If you could choose any country to live in, which would you choose? If I could live in any country, I would probably choose Australia. The weather is great, the people are super friendly, and just imagine living beside all those beaches. The sixth point is compare and contrast. We have to mention the differences and or the similarities between events. Vocabulary would be the usage of a comparative adjective plus than. So we could say more difficult than, more interesting than, or more important than. And you could also use as plus an adjective plus as again. For example, as cheap as interesting as important as, and so on. Here's an example with a question and answer. Do you think primary school children should learn a second language or should they wait until secondary school? It's evident that the earlier children start learning a language, the easier it becomes in later life. In contrast, some parents don't find it as important as studying maths or science at a primary level. They may also think that a foreign language is less important than their first language. I, for one, think that this should be prioritized as it might provide a good exposure. The next kind of question would be past reference, and this would be the last type of question. How were things different in the past and how have they changed now? The vocabulary used could be present perfect continuous tense. That means something that started in the past and continues up until the present. Or it could be used to plus an infinitive. This refers to past habits that no longer exist now. The third one could be would plus an infinitive, which could describe past habits. The fourth one is using past simple tense, which refers to past actions. The fifth one is to use past continuous tense, where you give a background story. You could also express feeling at that time. The sixth one is past perfect tense. Let's look at a question and answer example. Have things changed since your parents' times? I think that our society has undergone many changes since my parents' times. It seems impossible for values to stay intact when we are progressing and interacting at such a faster pace. 50 years ago, the Indian family structure revolved around the husband who was the main breadwinner. But through exposure and education schemes, more and more wives have started working. Today, most people also live in nuclear families as opposed to joint families in the past. Some basic family values will not change. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. Let's take a look at some practice questions which you could use to practice by yourself. Do young and old people have the same attitudes towards advertisements? How do people feel about the protection of wild animals? Is there any situation in which people disobey the law? Do you think that people obey the law all the time? And the last question is, what do you think is a suitable age to allow children to use cell phones? Let's look at some general speaking tips. Find an English speaking conversation partner. Make sure to listen as well as speak. Use a mirror while you speak. Record your practice conversation and listen to it later. Surround yourself with the English language. Practice with music and movies, first without subtitles, then with them. Begin by practicing on subject familiar to you. Practice phonetic sounds. Learn new phrases and idioms. Pay attention to stressed sounds. Learn new words. Learn word sounds and repeat them aloud. Pick up one sound of a vowel. Make a note of 5 similar ones. Diversify your speaking subjects once you're comfortable. Speak until the examiner stops you. With this, we come to the basic overviews of the speaking session. I hope you have enjoyed learning these tips and techniques. Wish you all the best in practicing speaking. Thank you.